Hey everyone. I just wanted to go over a few things. First, the recording from last week. I think there was probably about 15 minutes that were cut out. And I just wanted to go over a few of the key elements that were missed out of those few, just so that we can add it on to the other. One of the main ideas and focus of this plant-based diet is, again, it is not necessarily you have to be vegan or even vegetarian. Remember, it's adding good quality. It's where are you sourcing, if you're eating meat, where are you sourcing your meat from? Is it local? Are you aware? It doesn't even have to be local, or that would be optimum. But have you found an organic farm, maybe where they're free range? They're actually eating on the land. They have free access to water. They're not caged in. Remember, all of this emotional, all this trauma, maybe, or having a really humane life, one or the other, they're opposites. They have an impact on that animal, whether it is any type of red meat, beef, cattle, elk. I don't think they would be raising elk. Um, your fowl, any kind of turkey, chickens, anything like that that we eat, mainly within our society now. It's all this massive farming where the animals are caged, and they're literally like thrown by the tractor loads. Like the bucket of a tractor dumps these baby chicks out into a bin, and then the next bin, then the next bin, then the next bin, and these poor babies are raised in that environment. As they get bigger, their space gets smaller. Their feed is just dumped on the floor. So there's no access to even sunlight and fresh water, fresh air, fresh, greens and grains to eat on. And it's the same thing within the cattle and the pork and this industry that we're feeding our entire nation with. As we spoke probably different times, even in the detox, we are a little bit more fortunate that we have the means and we have the education to choose better form of meat if we're eating meat. But the same thing goes for the plant world. There are so many different grades of plants. And again, within this, we're trying to think more local, more as we went into closer in our ecosystem. Our body is more aware, and we can relate with it. Actually builds our microbiome, and which, of course, as we went into, strengthens our health, our immunity. It even helps bring down that level of inflammation that we have on the brain now from all of these chemicals or the foods that we're eating, and the eating out of rhythm with ourselves and with the circadian rhythms that which keep our body together. It's really pretty scary that this can induce a physically all these pesticides, all these chemicals are producing an inflamed brain, which of course then leads to depression. But we got into that all in the last video. And so eating more locally, you're feeding your microbial biome. You are adding more of these local, which your body knows what to do. As you eat closer within your own ecosystem, the body's more familiar with it. And the more diverse we are, the more of this diverse microbiome we're bringing into our body. So if we're bringing in a humanely sourced kind of meat, we're also adding this much better microbiome, which adds to our own health. And if you were to be able to add this diversity and continually add to your health, you are going to prolong life, of course, but you're going to avoid disease. You're going to avoid mental illness, even just the stagnant feelings we get in our joints and arthritis and all this. As we build our own stronger microbiome, that adds to this ease of digestion, which, as we know, which I talk about on every single class call, if your digestion is strong and it's efficient and it's working, then you're going to absorb all these micronutrients and these macronutrients. The macros are the fat, the carbohydrates, and the proteins, and the micronutrients are all these little tiny minerals and vitamins and, all of this that we need within our system to build tissue. And as we've said, to build strong tissue, you need to have the tissue built. There's 7 layers of tissue. You need the first, your plasma. So as you eat these really good foods in this strong digestive strength, our Agni has to be strong to break this down and start to, again, remember we went into assimilation and absorption, assimilation, and then into building the tissue, which builds the next tissue, the next tissue, next. And our immune system, after the 7 tissues, what's left over is that juicy brilliance of energy. That's our immune system. So it takes all of that to go through. So why wouldn't we want to add the best food possible to our diet and get our digestion to its optimum so that we can take in this good food? So this is why this plant-based habit is so important. It's not necessarily to bang into your brains that you have to be vegan or vegetarian. Again, some doshas, some body constitutions do better eating a little bit of fish and very high quality meats, chickens, poultry, things like that. So depending on your dosha, the amount of it or whether you can tolerate it at all, the higher quality, the better source that you do, the better off you are aiding into your own system's health. Again, it all depends on your digestion and how we eat and where we eat, and if we give gratitude. This all adds to that actual absorption and that digestion, and whether we're really going to use this beautiful food that we're giving ourselves into building new tissue and building strength and building resilience to all of these viruses and things that are happening. The more we feed into our microbiome and make it stronger and add in our digestion, we are basically putting up a force field around our body to the little bits of all of these viruses that we take in during the day, eating more plants and things that are local and have a little bit of dirt on them, and going out and touching our pets and doing all this. We're getting those tiny, tiny viruses continuously. And as we do this, we're building our own strength to fight off something as catastrophic as, a pandemic. So if you realize that maybe the people who are really aware of this and taking care of themselves, they're not being affected as dramatically as those who are less fortunate or not as educated as they could be. So again, super important, your plant-based diet, but it's how you're eating, where you're eating, and that you have to ingest all 5 elements. We went over this. This is probably the first few minutes that were missed in the last video. It's essential to your health to understand that the 5 elements, the space, air, fire, water, and earth, are included in your food, in the plant world. So within the plant world, just to reiterate real fast, as the plant is growing, it's taking on the sun, that's the fire element, to actually grow and transform, make chlorophyll. It's pulling up the water and the earth, the soil, that's earth and water. The stem is, and the air actually is moving and help feeding it with oxygen. So it's taking in our carbon dioxide, giving out the oxygen for us that's going out into the air. So all 5 elements are taken into the plant as it is to grow and feed. So as we are part of all 5 of the elements, so is the plant world. So within that is the wisdom and the intelligence that our body knows. So every bit of plant that you can add to your diet, the diversity, of course, adding per seasons, the 6 taste, the sour, sweet, salty, those are more, they actually build the body, and the pungent, bitter, and astringent take away from the body. So each season we will use different plants and use different parts of the plants to benefit that season. But then again, we have to take into account our dosha. So this idea of plant-based diet is really scientific, along with being the wisdom of the earth that is given to us in the plants, is the wisdom that all of our cells know, and they know how to incorporate it and use it to build these tissues. And it's just this amazing, that the body is just a miracle. So again, taking in, using the five elements to feed the five elements within our body. The macrocosm is of five elements. Our microcosm, which is our own body, is also made up of the five elements. And the food has either prana, life force, or non-pranic food, which has basically no life force, which we've gone over a few different times. Fast foods, frozen, so not all frozen, packaged foods, processed foods, fast foods. Those are all non-pranic food. By the time you get it from the grocery store or into your cabinets, or 6 months, a year later, you could be opening a package. There's no life force left in that whatsoever. And this also has to do with shipping food, which we're fortunate enough that we have commerce, around globally, so we can have anything we want any time of the year. But by the time that food makes it to us, it's less pranic. It has less life force in it. We're lucky enough to have organic foods shipped from all over, but again, eating more locally and locally in season is going to feed our body more intelligence than it would, sourcing something from the outside or from far, far, far away or out of season. As we spoke, your digestion shouldn't be having pineapple and watermelon, say mango, in February. And it doesn't want a ton of heavy, heavy beef stews and those big crock pot meals that nourish us in the winter. The summer diet needs to be light and airy because the outside air is very hot. Our bodies are lighter, everything is lighter. So those heavier meals, we save those for the winter time. So again, the five elements, how you eat, where you eat, if you give gratitude. If you're not really feeling well, there's one more little topic that we missed. If you're having a really bad time with your digestion, or something is off in your system and it's not really going away, you're not quite sure what is going on in your digestion or your health, take a step back and look back in your lineage. Where is your hereditary food source? Where did they eat? How did your ancestors eat? What did they eat? When did they eat? What was going on? Your genetic code actually realizes and recognizes your ancestry. So memory is in all of our muscles, it's in all of our tissue, it's in every cell, and the body remembers. It takes time to acclimate, which you can, to moving from climate to climate, as long as you do it properly and gradually. But sometimes when the body is really, really off, maybe it's due to stress or illness or trauma, the body's remembrance on a cellular level can be calmed and can be cured back to balance if you can think of how your ancestors ate and gradually get back into that before you get back into maybe what is your normal diet now. But genetic codes are really, really found within the tissues of every cell of different things that we eat, and it resonates with our body. Along with eating locally sourced things, now you're adding to that genetic code that you will pass on to your next generations. And just that one little bit on genetic code, this is really important. The body itself if you look at our teeth structure, we were born more herbivores than we were carnivores, because we don't have the sharp teeth, like a wild cat does, that can just rip and chew and chew and chew raw meats, like lions and things like on that level, that manner. So the furthest thing from our own genetic code, which, believe it or not, red meats and even some poultries they actually have emotions and feelings. And within that is a genetic code within their cells, their tissue, their muscle. So if we're not thinking to get really good sourced meats, as we just spoke a few minutes ago, the genetic code that now is getting into these inhumanely raised, again, pork, cattle, chickens, turkeys, it stays there, and then we ingest it. And when we ingest it, it genetically opposes our own ability to digest and take in that wisdom from that. It actually it almost wants to stop the ingestion of it. So that's why a lot of us have constant, issues and hard breaking down or get immediately into inflammation. And they're with the obesity right now and early onsets of arthritis and blood pressure and thyroid diseases and all of this, our bodies are in a constant state of confusion due to stress, trauma, but our diets and our lifestyles are adding tremendous amount to the breakdown of the body. So just think of it next time you really want to go get a McDonald's or something, or you just are in a hurry and you're just going to go buy any kind of beef or any kind of chicken. Maybe think twice and choose fish. So fish is that's like the most remote from our genetic code. It's the furthest away from the human genetic code within our own muscle tissue and our memory, within our cellular structure. So fish is easier for the body to take in and use the proteins to break down. So if you're not very sure of a source of a meat and you really don't have to eat that meat, maybe choose a fish item because the body can use it more easily. So just a little tidbit here. Again, the plant-based diet is a really, really important habit to really incorporate into your life and investigate a little bit more, do a little research. I think I sent out a few different blog posts and a few different recordings. So I would really encourage you to look into this. So that's my little added on plant-based. I know this has become like a long topic, but it's your health. And it's a huge part, the diet, the lifestyle, the six taste, being part of a community, having purpose in life, thinking of the 5 elements in our food in the plant world that can actually be used as wisdom within the 5 elements of our body. So it's a brilliant, brilliant system that we are a part of. And any questions, just send me, email or text, or we can go back over any of this information after. But this plant-based diet as wisdom and knowledge for our body is one of the biggest building blocks of your health. Okay? Love you all.